A black woman was humiliated on a blind date on her birthday. The man rejected her to her face, posted about it online, and walked away laughing. But what he didn't know was that she held a Harvard PhD and the power to destroy not just his career, but an entire empire of discrimination. Then a little girl asked one question that changed everything. "Can you be my new mom?" The Chicago bistro glowed with warm amber lighting, the kind of elegant ambience that made every table feel like a scene from a romantic movie. Crystal wine glasses caught the light like tiny prisms. White tablecloths draped over intimate tables for two, and soft jazz played from hidden speakers. It was a perfect setting for a birthday celebration, for new beginnings, for hope. Camila Williams had arrived exactly 15 minutes early, as she always did. At 29, she had learned that punctuality was one of the few things she could control in a world that constantly tried to diminish her. She wore a navy blue dress she'd chosen carefully that morning. Sophisticated without being showy, professional yet feminine, the kind of dress that said she was someone worth knowing. She had canceled dinner with her family to be here. Her mother had been disappointed, but understanding when Camila explained it was a blind date arranged by her cousin. Maybe this one will be different. Her mother had said hopefully, the same hope that had been crushed too many times before. Now, sitting alone at table 12, Camila checked her phone. 7:15 p.m. He was late. At 7:23, Derek Morrison walked in. Tall, conventionally handsome in that generic way of men who'd never been told no. Wearing an expensive suit that screamed finance bro, Camila watched him scan the restaurant, his eyes passing over a table once, twice, then stopping with visible reluctance on the third pass. She raised her hand in a small wave. Derek's face went through a series of micro-expressions: surprise, disappointment, annoyance, then settling into barely concealed disgust. He walked to the table with the enthusiasm of someone approaching a dentist's chair. "Camila?" His voice carried a particular tone of false politeness that barely masked contempt. "Derek, it's nice to meet you." She extended her hand. He shook it briefly, his grip limp and dismissive, then sat down with an audible sigh. The waiter appeared immediately, sensing the tension. "Good evening. Can I start you with drinks?" "Scotch. Double," Derek said without looking at the menu. "I'll have the Chardonnay, please," Camila added, her voice steady. The moment the waiter left, Derek leaned back in his chair and said the words that would change both their lives forever. "Look, I'll be blunt. When my cousin said she was black, I thought she meant, dark-skinned, like Mediterranean or something." He didn't even bother to lower his voice. A couple at the next table glanced over, their conversation pausing. I didn't expect something so obvious. Camila remained perfectly still, her hands folded on the table. Years of navigating predominantly white spaces had taught her to mask her reactions, to never give people the satisfaction of seeing they'd landed a blow. "I understand," she replied, her voice calm as glass. "And what exactly did you expect?" Derek laughed. A harsh, ugly sound that made the couple at the next table stop pretending they weren't listening. "Someone more compatible with me, I work in finance. Sterling and Associates. I earn six figures, well into six figures." He gestured vaguely in her direction, as if her mere presence was an affront. "I need someone who won't attract attention for the wrong reasons. My colleagues, my clients, they won't understand." "Your colleagues," Camila repeated softly, tilting her head slightly. "From Sterling and Associates." Derek paused, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "How do you know where I work?" "Female intuition." She smiled, but there was something arctic in that smile, something that would have warned a smarter man to tread carefully. The waiter returned with their drinks, clearly uncomfortable with the atmosphere at the table. Derek dismissed him with an impatient wave before the poor man could finish asking about appetizers. "Look," Derek continued, taking a long sip of his scotch, "I'm not going to sit here and pretend this can work. You seem polite, but my world is different. It's complex, demanding, sophisticated. It requires a certain type of person to navigate it. Someone who fits, And let's be real, you never fit into my world." "Too complex for a black woman to understand," Camila finished for him, her voice still silk soft. "Exactly." Derek seemed relieved. He didn't have to spell it out. "I knew you'd get it. Nothing personal, obviously. It's just about compatibility. Cultural fit. My family, my friends, my business associates. They have certain expectations." Camila nodded slowly, as if she were processing profound wisdom, rather than listening to a man dig his own professional grave with every word. In reality, she was cataloging everything, every phrase, every contemptuous gesture, every assumption that would become ammunition in the war Derek Morrison didn't know he'd just started. "Well," she said finally, rising with a grace that made Derek frown in confusion. The movement was too controlled, too elegant for someone who should have been humiliated. "Thank you for your honesty. That's quite valuable." Derek blinked, thrown off by her reaction. He'd expected tears, anger, maybe a scene. Instead, she looked like someone who'd just been handed exactly what she'd been searching for. Yeah, well, no hard feelings, right? He was already pulling out his phone, eager to document this story for his friends. None whatsoever, Camila assured him. Enjoy your evening, Derek. She walked toward the exit with her head high, her posture perfect. Behind her, Derek was already laughing into his phone, his voice carrying across the restaurant. Bro, you won't believe the disaster my cousin set me up with. Camila paused near the bar, not leaving yet, but stepping out of Derek's sightline. She pulled out her phone and did what she'd been trained to do, document everything. Time, location, direct quotes she could remember. She opened a notes app and began typing rapidly. That's when she felt a small tug on her dress. Why are you sad? Camila looked down to find a little girl with an adorable face and big brown eyes staring up at her. The child couldn't be more than 4 years old, with curly blonde hair pulled into a ponytail and wearing a red dress with a white collar. She held a small stuffed bear and looked at Camila with the kind of innocent concern that children have before the world teaches them to look away from other people's pain. Camila's carefully constructed armor cracked just slightly. She knelt down to be at the child's eye level, genuine warmth replacing her professional mask. Actually, sweetie, I'm not sad, she said softly. I'm planning. Planning what? The little girl tilted her head, curious. Justice, little one. I'm planning justice. Annie! Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. A woman in her 30s rushed over, embarrassed. She's very curious. Come on, honey, leave the lady alone. But Annie didn't move. Her big eyes studied Camila with an intensity that seemed far too serious for someone so young. You look like my favorite teacher. She gets sad sometimes too, but she always protects us from the mean boys. Something in those innocent words struck a chord that Camila hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. She smiled this time genuinely. And do you like her? Your teacher? Very much. Annie's face lit up. She's the best in the whole world. Then, as if making the most important decision of her young life, she asked, Can you be my new mom? My mom lives in heaven now. Camila felt her breath catch. Before she could respond, a man appeared, tall, professional looking, with kind eyes that held deep sadness. He was clearly Annie's father. Annie, you can't just go around asking people that, he said gently, but his voice was thick with emotion. He looked at Camila apologetically. I'm so sorry. She lost her mother 6 months ago, and He couldn't finish the sentence. It's okay, Camila interrupted softly, still crouching. I'm honored she thought of me. As the father gently guided Annie away, Camila stood up and took a deep breath. She glanced back toward Derek's table. He was taking a selfie, probably for Instagram, that smug expression on his face that said he thought he'd dodged a bullet. What Derek Morrison didn't know, what he couldn't possibly comprehend, was that he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. Camila Williams wasn't just a black woman he could dismiss with casual cruelty. She held a PhD in behavioral psychology from Harvard, specializing in power dynamics and institutional discrimination. For the past 5 years, she'd been conducting an extensive study on patterns of prejudice in corporate environments, and her research involved detailed investigations into more than 15 major companies in Chicago. Sterling & Associates was one of them. In fact, Derek had just personally delivered himself on a silver platter to become the most perfect case study she could have imagined. A senior executive at one of Chicago's largest brokerage firms, publicly documenting his prejudices, connecting personal behavior to corporate culture, and about to provide a trail of evidence that would be more damning than anything she could have engineered. Her phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at the screen. Derek had already posted to Instagram. The photo showed her empty table, the one she just left, with a caption that made her blood run cold for entirely different reasons than Derek imagined. When your cousin says a friend is exotic, but forgets to mention she's a diversity hire faced with rolling eyes, hashtag high standards, hashtag dodge a bullet, hashtag quality matters. The comments were already rolling in. Bro, you always escape these traps, flex biceps. It's basically affirmative action, even on Tinder now, LOL. That's why I only date blondes from the country club tennis. Each comment was another layer of poison, another piece of evidence. Another nail in a coffin Derek was building for himself with enthusiastic abandon. But Camila didn't feel anger. She felt something much more dangerous. Absolute clarity. She saved screenshots of the post and every comment. Then she pulled up her contacts and called her research assistant. Jessica, it's Camila. I need you to accelerate the investigation into Sterling & Associates. Full priority. And I need everything you can find on a Derek Morrison. Employment history, social media, connections, everything. I need it by tomorrow morning. Anything specific you're looking for? Jessica asked, her tone sharpening with interest. She knew that tone in Camila's voice. Patterns, Camila replied, watching Derek through the restaurant window as he laughed with someone on his phone. There are always patterns with men like him. Find them. She ended the call and looked down at her navy blue dress, the one she'd chosen so carefully that morning for what was supposed to be a birthday celebration. It felt different now, not heavy with disappointment, but light with purpose. Derek Morrison had thought he was rejecting an easy target. What he'd actually done was activate a weapon he never saw coming. As Camila finally left the restaurant, stepping into the cool Chicago evening, she passed Derek's table one last time. He was too absorbed in his phone to notice her, too busy basking in the approval of his equally toxic friends. "Enjoy it while it lasts," she murmured, too softly for him to hear. Because tomorrow, the real work would begin. And Derek Morrison's world, along with the entire corrupt system that had protected and enabled people like him, was about to come crashing down. The little girl's question echoed in her mind as Camila walked her car. "Can you be my new mom?" Maybe, she thought. Maybe when the dust settled and justice was served, there would be space in her life for something beautiful, for family, for love, for all the things people like Derek assumed she didn't deserve. But first, she had a system to dismantle, an empire to expose, a man to destroy professionally, and she was going to enjoy every single moment of it. Camila Williams woke at 5:30 a.m. the next morning, not from anxiety, but from the kind of focused determination that had carried her through Harvard, through countless microaggressions, through a lifetime of being underestimated. Strategic minds work best when the world is still asleep. While her coffee brewed, she checked her phone notifications. Derek had been busy overnight. 3 new Instagram stories. The first was a gym selfie with the caption, "Monday motivation. When you dodge bullets, you get stronger flex biceps, #blesslife, #staying in my lane." The second showed his office view. High floor, Chicago skyline, everything that screamed success and privilege. Caption, "Another day building wealth and maintaining standards, #SterlingLife, #excellence." The third made her smile coldly. A lunch photo tagging 5 colleagues from Sterling and Associates. Real recognize Real. My brothers who understand quality. #Team Excellence, #no compromises. Thanks for the contact list, Derek, Camila murmured, screenshotting each story and adding them to her growing evidence file. Her phone rang at exactly 9 a.m. Jessica, her research assistant, never miss a deadline. "You need to sit down for this," Jessica began without preamble. "I'm already sitting." "Hit me." Derek Morrison isn't just a problem employee. He's the informal leader of a group. They call themselves the Old Boys Network within Sterling. They even have a name for it internally. Camila's pen hovered over her notepad. Go on. They have a private WhatsApp group called Real Men of Sterling. 47 members, all white men aged between 28 and 55. And Camila, Jessica paused dramatically. They document everything. Comments about female employees, rating systems for women in interviews, rankings of female interns' appearances, even bets on who can date them first. Camila stopped writing. "How did you get access to this?" "My cousin works in Sterling's IT department. She's been documenting this for months, waiting for someone who could actually do something about it. When she heard I was researching Sterling, she handed over everything." "How much is everything?" 2 years of screenshots, thousands of messages, all admissible in court if we handle it right. Some of this stuff, Camila, it's beyond discriminatory. It's conspiracy. It's systematic harassment. It's RICO territory. Camila felt that familiar surge of vindication mixed with disgust. This was bigger than she'd hoped and worse than she'd feared. "Send everything to my encrypted email." "And Jessica, your cousin, what's her situation?" "PhD in computer science. Only stays at Sterling because they have the best health insurance in the city. Her daughter has autism, needs specialized therapy. She's basically trapped. Get me her name and number. When this is over, we'll make sure she has better options. You're gonna take them down, aren't you?" Jessica's voice carried a mixture of hope and excitement. "Not just take them down," Camila replied. "I'm going to make it impossible for any company like Sterling to operate this way again." At 11 a.m., Camila sat in the downtown office of Rebecca Carter, an attorney whose reputation in Chicago was legendary. Rebecca Carter won impossible cases and had zero tolerance for corporate injustice. She'd built her career on taking down powerful men who thought they were untouchable. "Dr. Williams," Rebecca said, leafing through preliminary documents Camila had prepared overnight. "This isn't just individual discrimination. This is pattern and practice. Hostile work environment, conspiracy. Hell, with this WhatsApp group, we might even have RICO violations if we can prove they were coordinating to exclude protected classes from employment opportunities." "That's exactly what I'm documenting," Camila confirmed. Rebecca looked up, her eyes sharp as a blade. "You understand what you're starting here? This won't just destroy Derek Morrison's career. This will gut Sterling and Associates. It'll make national news. It could change corporate law in Illinois." "Good," Camila said simply. Her phone buzzed. Another message from Derek. "Hey, no hard feelings about last night, right?" You seem cool, even though you're different. If you want a second chance, maybe we can make something work. I'm generous like that slightly smiling face. Camila showed the message to Rebecca, who laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. He's still digging. Attachment A. Continued harassment after initial incident. This is almost too easy. Camila screenshotted the message and added it to her file, then replied simply, I appreciate the offer, Derek. Very generous of you. Let him think she was flattered. Let him think she was grateful for scraps of his attention. Let him keep talking. That afternoon, Camila assembled a team that would make Derek Morrison's nightmares look tame. Dr. Margaret Washington, the first black woman to head the Chicago Board of Trade Compliance Department. She'd been waiting years for a case this solid to use as precedent. James Chun, senior investigator for the Illinois Department of Human Rights. He specialized in pattern discrimination cases and had the authority to launch federal investigations. And, in a twist that felt like the universe aligning, Dr. Marcus Thompson, Annie's father. Dr. Williams? A familiar voice came through the conference call. This is Marcus Thompson. Rebecca said you needed expert testimony on implicit bias in financial services. Camila sat forward. Dr. Marcus Thompson, who wrote Unconscious Bias in Financial Services? Guilty as charged. And you're the Dr. Williams who demolished Peterson's methodology on implicit association testing. Your Harvard study is required reading in my doctoral program. Small world, Camila murmured. Gets smaller when we're all fighting the same enemy. Institutional discrimination. Marcus paused. Rebecca mentioned you met my daughter Annie at a restaurant. I did. She's remarkable. She hasn't stopped talking about you. Keep asking when she'll see the pretty lady who's going to help people like Miss Jennifer. That's her teacher who faces discrimination from some of the parents. Marcus's voice softened. Annie has good instincts about people. So do I, Camila replied. And right now, my instincts tell me we're about to make history. That evening, Derek posted a LinkedIn article titled, Maintaining Professional Excellence in an Era of Forced Diversity. It was a barely disguised manifesto about how diversity quotas lowered company standards and why merit should be the only hiring criterion, completely ignoring that his definition of merit seemed to exclusively include white men from certain backgrounds. Within hours, it had garnered dozens of likes from sterling colleagues and comments ranging from dog whistles to outright racism. Finally, someone brave enough to say it. The race card gets played too often in corporate America. Quality over quotas every time. Rebecca texted Camila, he's making this too easy. It's almost unsporting. But Camila understood something about men like Derek that most people missed. Their arrogance was their greatest weakness. They genuinely believed they were untouchable, that their networks protected them, that their version of quality was universal truth, that consequences were for other people. At 10 p.m., Derek sent one final message. By the way, told some friends about our date. They want to know if you have any friends who are more traditional. You know, girls who understand their place. Could be good for them, and you'd be helping them out, winking face. Camila stared at the message for a long moment, then calmly added it to the file that was now 3 inches thick and growing exponentially. Tomorrow, she would make the calls that would change Derek's life forever. But tonight, she allowed herself a moment to sit with the weight of what she was about to do. This wasn't just about Derek Morrison. It was about every black woman who'd been told she wasn't professional enough, every minority candidate who'd been passed over for culture fit, every person who'd been made to feel less than because of how they looked. This was about sending a message that would echo through every boardroom in Chicago. Your bigotry has consequences. Her laptop showed the evidence. Instagram posts, LinkedIn articles, WhatsApp screenshots, testimonies from former employees, hiring records that statistically proved discrimination. Derek's own words condemning him at every turn. Derek Morrison thought he rejected an easy target. What he'd actually done was arm the weapon that would destroy him. As Camila reviewed the evidence one final time, Annie's innocent question echoed in her mind. Can you be my new mom? She thought about Marcus, brilliant, kind, a single father raising a remarkable child while fighting his own battles against institutional bias. She thought about the possibility of family, of love, of building something beautiful from the ashes of injustice. But first, justice itself. She opened her email and began typing. To James Chun, Illinois Department of Human Rights. CC, Dr. Margaret Washington, Dr. Marcus Thompson, Rebecca Carter, ESQ. Subject, formal complaint and investigation request, Sterling and Associates. Attached, evidence package, 2,847 pages. Distinguished colleagues, please find attached comprehensive documentation of systematic racial and gender discrimination at Sterling and Associates, a Chicago-based financial services firm. The evidence includes 2 years of internal communication showing coordinated exclusion of minority candidates, social media posts by senior employees documenting discriminatory attitudes, statistical analysis of hiring patterns showing impossible racial disparities, testimony from current and former employees, direct evidence of hostile work environment. I am formally requesting a full investigation and am prepared to testify as both expert witness and complainant. Time to hold them accountable. Dr. Camila Williams, PhD Behavioral Psychology, Harvard University. She hovered over the send button for just a moment, thinking about the earthquake she was about to trigger. Then she clicked. The email sent with a soft whoosh. Somewhere across the city, Derek Morrison was probably asleep in his expensive apartment, dreaming of promotions and bonuses, completely unaware that his world had just ended. The countdown to his destruction had officially begun, and every text, every post, every arrogant assumption had been another nail in his very expensive coffin. Tomorrow, the real game would start, and Dr. Camila Williams played to win. Derek Morrison walked into Sterling Associates Tuesday morning feeling invincible. His LinkedIn article had garnered over 200 likes. His WhatsApp group was buzzing with congratulations about his brave stand for excellence. Several colleagues had stopped by his desk to fist bump him for keeping it real. What Derek didn't know was that at exactly 9:15 a.m., while he was grabbing his third coffee and joking about maintaining standards, Rebecca Carter was walking into the Illinois Department of Human Rights with a legal briefcase that could choke a horse. "This is the most comprehensive discrimination case I've ever seen," she told Director James Chun, spreading printed documents across his desk like a hand of cards that couldn't lose. 2 years of documented evidence, pattern discrimination, conspiracy to deny equal employment, and the defendants literally confessing to everything on social media. James Chun, a career investigator who thought he'd seen it all, looked at the evidence with widening eyes. They kept receipts of their own crimes. They kept receipts, timestamps, witness lists, and photographic evidence. They might as well have filed their own charges. Back at Sterling, Derek's phone buzzed. A text from Camila. "Hope you have a good day at work today," smiling face with smiling eyes. He snorted, showing it to his colleague Brad. "Look at this. Still trying to get my attention. Pathetic, right?" "Desperate," Brad agreed, not looking up from his trading screen. "Probably intimidated by your success." What Derek couldn't see was a storm gathering over his perfectly styled head. At 10:30 a.m., Dr. Margaret Washington from the Chicago Board of Trade was reviewing Sterling and Associates trading licenses and compliance records. At 11 a.m., 3 journalists from the Chicago Tribune were fact-checking a story about systematic discrimination in Chicago's financial sector. At 11:45 a.m., an IRS investigator was opening a file on Sterling's diversity tax credits. Specifically, how a company claiming diversity hiring incentives could have such statistically impossible demographics. The first crack in Derek's perfect world appeared at 12:47 p.m. Derek Morrison? He looked up from his terminal to find a woman in a gray suit standing at his desk. She wore a badge, Illinois Department of Human Rights. The entire trading floor went silent. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned. "I'm Senior Investigator Susan Rodriguez. We need to speak with you about allegations of discriminatory conduct and hostile work environment violations." Derek's face flushed red. "I'm sure there's been some mistake." "No mistake. We have documented evidence of systematic discrimination, conspiracy to deny equal employment opportunities, and creation of a hostile work environment. You have the right to legal representation." Her voice carried across the suddenly silent office. Every trader, every assistant, every colleague who'd been laughing with Derek that morning was now watching his public humiliation. Brad, who'd been agreeing about Camila's desperation an hour earlier, was now rolling his chair away from Derek like guilt was contagious. By 2 p.m., the Chicago Tribune article went live. Sterling and Associates, inside the old boys network that systematically excluded minorities. The article included screenshots of the WhatsApp group, Derek's LinkedIn manifesto, Derek's Instagram posts, and recorded testimony from 3 former Sterling employees who'd been documenting discrimination for years. Derek's phone exploded. His mother, "Derek, what is this article saying about you?" His ex-girlfriend, "Are you seriously this racist? I'm so glad we broke up." His college roommate, "Bro, you're trending on Twitter and it's bad." He frantically Googled his name. Page after page of articles, tweets, and commentary. His LinkedIn posts had been screenshot and shared thousands of times with devastating commentary. His Instagram was being flooded with comments calling him out. At 3:15 p.m., Derek was summoned to the CEO's office. Mr. Edward Sterling, the firm's founder, sat behind his desk looking like he'd aged 10 years in 6 hours. The man who built his reputation on progressive business practices and ethical leadership now faced the destruction of everything he created. And it was Derek's fault. "Derek," Mr. Sterling's voice was ice. "Effective immediately, you are terminated for cause. Security will escort you out. Our legal team will contact you regarding your liability for the damage you caused this firm." "But sir, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you single-handedly destroyed 30 years of reputation building, That your documented racism has cost us 12 major clients in 4 hours? That the IRS is now auditing our diversity tax claims because of your group's activities? Mr. Sterling stood, his face flushed with rage. That you exposed us to federal investigations, massive lawsuits, and regulatory penalties? Get out, now! The walk of shame to the trading floor was brutal. Former friends avoided eye contact. Colleagues who'd slapped his back that morning now stepped aside like he had a disease. The security guard escorting him out, a black man Derek had never bothered to acknowledge in 2 years, remained professionally silent. As the elevator doors closed on Derek's crumbling world, his phone buzzed one final time. Camila's message: "By the way, I'm Dr. Camila Williams, PhD from Harvard in behavioral psychology, specializing in institutional discrimination. My comprehensive study on Sterling and Associates will be published next month. Thank you for being such a perfect case study. Every word you said, every post you made, every message you sent, all documented. You built the evidence against yourself. Enjoy your new reality." Derek's hands shook as he read it. He Googled Dr. Camila Williams Harvard with trembling fingers. Page after page of academic achievements appeared. TED Talks on unconscious bias with millions of views. Congressional testimony on workplace discrimination. Award-winning research that had changed policy at Fortune 500 companies. A CV that included consulting for the Department of Justice. The woman he dismissed as just another diversity hire was one of the most respected experts in the country on exactly the kind of behavior he and his colleagues had been exhibiting. By 6 p.m., Derek's LinkedIn was flooded with comments calling him out. His dating profiles had been found and screenshot, circulated with warnings. His Instagram posts about maintaining standards were being shared as examples of systemic racism. Rebecca Carter called Camila at 7:30 p.m. with an update that made both women smile. Sterling and Associates just offered a 7-figure settlement to avoid trial. They're also implementing mandatory bias training, diversifying their entire leadership team, and establishing a $2 million scholarship fund for minority students pursuing careers in finance. That's a start, Camila replied. But we're still filing formal charges against Derek and the other ringleaders. Oh, absolutely. The criminal case proceeds independently. This is just Sterling trying to save itself. The next morning, the Chicago Tribune ran a follow-up story. Local restaurant becomes symbol of hope. How one woman's rejection led to industry-wide reform. The article featured a photo of Camila at the same restaurant where Derek had humiliated her. But this time she was surrounded by the Sterling and Associates Diversity Task Force, announcing new hiring initiatives that would create opportunities for hundreds of qualified candidates who had previously been excluded. And there, in the background of the photo, was little Annie holding her father Marcus's hand, both of them smiling at Camila like she was exactly the family they'd been hoping to find. 6 months later, Camila stood in the same restaurant where her nightmare had become her greatest victory. But this time, everything was different. "Can I have the mac and cheese with extra cheese, please?" Annie asked the waiter, her legs swinging from her booster seat. She wore a bright yellow dress and clutched her favorite stuffed bear. "What do you say, sweetheart?" Marcus prompted gently. "Please and thank you." Annie beamed, then turned to Camila with shining eyes. "Mommy, did you really make all those mean people at Daddy's work change their rules?" Camila's heart still fluttered every time Annie called her that. The adoption papers had been finalized just last week, making official what felt true from that first night. Sometimes, sweetie, when people do wrong things, we have to help them learn to do better. Marcus squeezed her hand under the table. Their relationship had grown from professional respect to deep partnership to something neither of them had expected. Love. Real love, built on shared values, mutual respect, and a commitment to making the world better. The Sterling case became a landmark, Marcus said, showing Camila his tablet with the latest compliance reports. 47% minority representation in leadership positions now. Real change, not token gestures. Camila nodded, but her greatest satisfaction wasn't in the numbers. It was watching Annie color pictures of their new family, listening to Marcus laugh, feeling the peace that came from turning pain into purpose. Derek Morrison's life, meanwhile, had become a cautionary tale whispered through Chicago's financial circles. 6 months unemployed, he burned through his savings and moved back in with his parents in the suburbs. His LinkedIn profile was a graveyard of unanswered applications. Every Google search of his name led to articles about discrimination and accountability. 3 more companies had reached out to Camila requesting diversity audits. Derek's spectacular downfall was changing entire industries. "Daddy, tell Mommy about the surprise." Annie whispered loudly, bouncing in her seat. Marcus grinned. "Annie wants to know if you'd like to help her plant a garden behind our house. She says flowers grow better when families plant them together." Camila looked around the table at her chosen family. The brilliant psychologist who'd opened his heart again, the incredible little girl who saw love where adults saw complications. She felt overwhelming gratitude for the journey that had brought them together. A year ago, she'd sat at a similar table, rejected and dismissed by a man who couldn't see her worth. Tonight, she was surrounded by people who chose her every single day. Derek Morrison had tried to diminish her value. Instead, he'd catalyzed the creation of something beautiful. Systematic change, professional triumph, and most importantly, a family built on choice, respect, and genuine love. The waiter approached, a different one from that fateful night. But Camila recognized him. He'd been serving another section when Derek had humiliated her. "I remember you," he said quietly. "From that night, I wanted to say something, but..." He trailed off, ashamed. "It's okay," Camila assured him. "No, it's not. But I read the articles. What you did, changing that whole company, making them accountable, that took courage." He smiled. "This meal is on the house. And I wanted you to know I'm in college now. Business ethics. Because of what I saw you do." After he left, Annie tugged Camila's sleeve. "Mommy, you're like a superhero." "No, sweetie. I'm just someone who believes that people should be treated fairly." "That's what superheroes do," Annie insisted with perfect 4-year-old logic. Marcus laughed, pulling both of them close. "She's got a point." As they left the restaurant that night, a real family now, legal and loving in everything Camila had never dared to dream, she passed a table where Derek had rejected her. A young couple sat there now, laughing over wine, their hands intertwined. She smiled. That table no longer held pain. It held the memory of a beginning, not an ending. Her phone buzzed with an email from Jessica. 3 more companies want to hire you as a consultant. Your book proposal got interest from 5 major publishers. Dr. Williams, you're changing the world." But the real change was walking beside her, holding her hand. Annie skipped ahead, Marcus's arm around Camila's waist, the 3 of them heading toward a car that would take them home. Their home. Derek Morrison had thought he was rejecting someone beneath him. What he'd actually done was set in motion a chain of events that exposed an entire corrupt system, changed corporate policy across multiple industries, and inadvertently brought together a family that was always meant to be. The best revenge wasn't destroying your enemies. It was building a life so fulfilling that their cruelty became irrelevant. A distant memory of who you were before you became everything they said you couldn't be. As they drove through Chicago's glittering streets, Annie sang a song from her preschool, Marcus discussed weekend plans, and Camila realized something profound. Derek Morrison had tried to make her feel small, unworthy, less than. Instead, he'd given her the ammunition to prove she was extraordinary. And somewhere in the universe, justice and love had conspired to give her not just vindication, but a family, a purpose, and a future brighter than any she'd imagined. That's what happens when hate meets someone who knows how to transform into hope.